If you're thinking about making a move to Alameda, then this is the video for you. Hey, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Hans. This is my wife and business partner, Kristin. We're with the Gunderman Group at Keller Williams Luxury, and we are really excited to record this video for you. Because if you're watching it, probably means you're thinking about making a move here in Alameda, California, and we are really excited to share our list of pros and cons, what it's like to live here, things to consider, and just give you a general sense if this might be a good move for you.
If you like what you're hearing, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel because we're going to continue to put out content just like this about Alameda and some of the major East Bay cities, and you're not going to want to miss it.
And if you think we missed something on this list, throw it in the comments down below. We'd love to hear from you.
So before we dive into the pros and cons list, a quick overview of Alameda. Hans and I have lived here and worked here for over 10 years. We love it here and we're really excited to share all of this with you. Alameda is an island city plus a peninsula called Bay Farm Island in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's in the East Bay, just over the estuary from Oakland, and it's about 10 square miles with 78,000 people living on it.
So that leads us nicely into our list of things we love about Alameda. The first and foremost is that it's flat, it's bikeable, it's walkable, it's easy to get around. There's generally plentiful parking because you're not up on the side of a hill. And as a result, you just get a really good feel of community, people walking around, people engaging with one another as opposed to some other more vertical neighborhoods. In addition, it's 25 miles an hour across the entire island. And that means people move a little slower and look out for pedestrians, for bikes, all that good stuff. And it just means in general, things slow down here. It's easier to get around. You don't have to necessarily take your car everywhere. And it just makes for a different sense and a vibe in the community.
The city is also doing a really good job of installing more bike lanes, especially in some of the streets that go fully across the island. Streets like Santa Clara, Central Ave, Encinal, those are all streets that have dedicated bike lanes. So as a result, you'll see people or sometimes families biking to dinner, biking to different appointments they have. So it's a really easy island to get around.
And speaking of community, the sense of community is our second thing that we love about being here. There's so many, countless numbers of block parties that we hear about, some of which have been running for 50, 60, in some cases over 90 years consecutively. You get a lot of impromptu neighborhood visits, porch concerts, which really kicked up during COVID, but people have continued. And you have a lot of folks who've been on the same block or in the same house for, in some cases, 50 to, in a few cases, 90 plus years. And so there's just this real sense of home, of community. You know your neighbors, you know their names, you know their kids, you know their grandparents, all this stuff. It's just, it creates this wonderful vibe and this wonderful sense that's really hard to replicate.
Yeah, this is really a city that people come to and they don't want to leave. They just love it here. In addition, many of the blocks have email lists or newsletters and copies of each other's keys. So they really look out for each other and keep the community strong in that way.
And whenever we go out, whether it be to Park Street or up on the West End to the base, we almost always run into somebody that we know. And that's one of the benefits of living in a relatively small place, 78,000 people plus whoever comes on and off for fun. It's really easy to run into people you know just out and about at the store.
If you are thinking about moving to Alameda and you want to get a deeper sense of what this city is about, we put together a Alameda relocation guide, which we've linked to down below in the description, so you can go grab a copy there. It goes through each of the different neighborhoods, what to expect, where to eat, where to play, where to have fun in each of the different neighborhoods, schools, everything. So go grab a copy of that if you are considering a move here to Alameda.
And one of the great things that people really focus on relative to community, which Kristin mentioned, is the school system itself. So there are two high schools, Alameda High and Encinal High, which all the elementaries and middles funnel into respectively. And they're really rated very well. In general, people see Alameda as rating a slightly higher when you do online research, but we've had great reviews from people who send their kids all the way through Encinal as well. So don't be scared about that one, but definitely do your research on which one might be a better fit. I did a video a while back, which I'll link to up here, of how to use the Alameda School Finder, which we'll also link to in the description. You can click around on that and see which district you're assigned to relative to where the house is that you're considering buying.
And overall, the schools here are also strong because they have really good PTA involvement. The schools here also have really good school spirit. There are fundraisers, which tons of people come to raise money for the school and for the kids. There's a really good sense of building community within the schools. So it's something that glues the community together.
A lot of parent networks and just different groups that meet up regularly, and it's a really fun time. And a lot of the time what happens is these people meet up at the various parks or the beaches, which is another huge pro of living here in Alameda, is you're never more than a couple minutes bike ride or walk to a great park. Whether it be the beach that's along the South Shore or one of the smaller parks that's parked inside of a neighborhood, some of which are just a couple thousand square feet, some of which are large, long city blocks or more. And so there's always an opportunity for an activity. There's a lot of pools that you can be involved with, baseball diamonds, pickleball courts, bocce ball, anything you can really imagine. There's a park with that in mind. And that's one of the other things that we find relative to community is people meet up and have impromptu sports leagues. There's soccer groups, there's people playing rugby, baseball. I'm part of an ultimate frisbee group that meets up on a weekly basis. There's a lot of people who just consistently show up in these parks, on the beach, all these places, and it's just a great place to connect and get to know one another.
Yeah, on a hot summer day, you'll see people out on the beach playing beach volleyball. Tons of people flock to the beach to go play, have fun, let their kids splash around in the water. And then around the beaches and parks, also in the summer, you'll oftentimes see an ice cream truck pull up with a line of kids out in front of it as well.
There are a couple of holidays that are pretty amazing here in Alameda as well. Halloween is one that sticks out for us because we live in the Gold Coast and a lot of people come into our neighborhood and trick or treat because it's pretty safe and the community just shows up for it. There's a lot of trick or treating that happens in kind of different neighborhoods, the Gold Coast, bunch in the East End as well, and it's just a really, really fun holiday that everyone gets excited for. 4th of July, we have a beautiful big long parade. As many as 60,000 spectators show up for this and put their camping chairs out the night before and have block parties afterwards, and it's just a really fun event.
And finally, in the East End on Thompson, there is Christmas Tree Lane, which all the way from Thanksgiving through Christmas, every single house is adorned with tons of decorations. It is totally over the top and so much fun. They park a Santa Claus out front sometimes. They're serving hot chocolate. They've got it all. So that is something that draws not only the community of Alameda to come see it, but also the broader East Bay.
Aside from sort of the natural beauty of the parks and proximity to the bay, the architecture is a huge pro of living here. In Alameda, what you'll find is just a huge diversity of architectural styles, ages of homes, many of which are 100+ years old. We also have a historic homes committee whose desire is to help preserve and maintain some of that architectural charm. And you'll find a lot of people take a lot of pride in this. And it makes for just really beautiful neighborhoods. You also have, in conjunction to that, a lot of tree-lined streets with trees that are 50, 100 or more years old in a lot of cases, and people who take really good care of them. And so it makes for just a really beautiful place to be and to look, and then of course potentially live in some of these homes that have this architectural charm.
Yeah, Alameda is very much known for its Victorians here in town, but we do have plenty of Tudors, Mediterranean styles. You'll see everything here in Alameda.
Now, pivoting over to our list of cons, things to consider that may make it so this isn't a good fit for you, because we just went through a lot of things that are pretty awesome about this place. Because there are those awesome things, a lot of people want to live here. There's limited housing stock because we are on island. There isn't a massive amount of geography we can expand out to. So the existing houses are fairly expensive. Depending on which source you look at and what data set you're looking at, the average house is selling for around $1.2 million right now as of the recording of this video. Of course, that's subject to change, but that's an expensive house when you couple it with interest rates where they are today and tax rates and all of that kind of stuff. So it's not cheap to live here.
In addition to that, traffic is something to consider, and this is sometimes a con about living on an island. There are 4 bridges over to Alameda and 1 tunnel up on the west end. So this means that there are really a finite number of ways to get on and off the island. As a result, you'll see more traffic, typically at typical rush hour times during the week, and then also sometimes on the weekends, especially because on the west end of the island, there are a lot of sporting events. And so when those let out, you'll see a flood of people trying to get back through the tube over to Oakland. And the tube also runs directly into downtown Oakland, so it doesn't pull you right onto a freeway. So as a result, it can get a little bit gummed up there. So traffic is something that the city is well aware of. They know that this is an issue, and they are actively exploring other ways to help mitigate the traffic that you'll experience around the bridges and the tunnel.
To that end, about what they're doing to mitigate it, we've linked the 2040 general plan down below, which you can read about. It's the priorities for the city's government and expenditures on bike lanes and ferry terminals and safety and all of this. You can read about what they're doing down below in that general plan. And one of the things that they are addressing, but is really not up to par right now, is employment on island. There's not very many people who actually live, unless you're self-employed, live and work here in Alameda. But relative to the population, most people leave and go to an office, even if it's just a couple days a week now. And so what you find is you don't live and work in the same place, and that does obviously create congestion and traffic, but it also means that a lot of people leave and sort of the island empties out in the middle of the day, which for some is a pro, but in general, most people find that they can't stay here and work at an office. They have to go elsewhere.
Now, we did experience that in COVID, a lot of this changed because of work from home. So if you are work from home, this might not be a con for you, but if you are commuting, it most likely will be. One of the good things is that Alameda also has 3 very active ferry terminals, and these are ferries that go straight into downtown San Francisco to the ferry building. There is one terminal in Alameda on Bay Farm, and then there are 2 more on the main island on the west end. Such a great way to commute if you're going to go to work in the city and downtown, to just hop on the ferry, go right into work, and then come on back on your way home.
There are some Trans-Bay bus lines as well that can get you to San Francisco. But one thing that San Francisco has, Oakland has, Berkeley has, that we don't really have in the same way is a really robust food scene. There are some great restaurants, don't get me wrong, but there's a finite number of them. Relative to Oakland or San Francisco, if in our case, when we want to go somewhere really nice or different or eclectic, we're leaving the island in most cases. Now, in general, there are plenty of great places to go, but you'll find that if you really want to kind of be a foodie and go somewhere exciting and fun, you're probably leaving the island most of the time.
One final con about the city of Alameda is that there is a lot of development happening on the island. Now, this is a good thing because we know that we're in a housing crisis here in California. However, this does mean that the city is building a lot of new condo complexes, a lot of townhouses and apartment buildings, particularly on the west end where the base is, and then also on the north part of the island just on Clement Avenue. So what this means is that more people are moving to the island city, and as a result, as we talked about before, traffic will likely worsen over time. So if you are considering a move here, you might want to keep that in mind, especially if you're thinking about moving to the west end and are going to be commuting through the tube.
So that's it. That's our list. That's our things that you should know and consider before moving to Alameda. Tell us down in the comments, did we miss something? Is there something that you really love or you really dislike about Alameda? Down in the comments, we'd love to hear from you there. And of course, if you got some value out of this, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel.
And a reminder, if you are thinking about moving to Alameda, that Alameda relocation guide is below. So go click on that link and grab a copy of that so that you can go deeper on this and many more topics within Alameda. Until next time, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.